are live. Welcome to Tonight in America. I'm your host, Don Terrius Jones, and we have an excellent show tonight for you. I want to welcome you back here on a it was it Thursday, but now it's Friday morning, 12:13 a.m. Sorry about the late arrival time. I, of course, had to get ready for the show and had to make sure my internet is up and running. I was having some trouble with it earlier. I had to make sure the internet was functionally working correctly before I decided to just jump on air. I didn't want to jump on air, and I didn't want to get cut off multiple times from disconnection. Then I have to wait till like it reconnects, and then it happens again and again and again. So, of course, I wanted to wait until like the whole thing was resolved, and then I'll just jump on the air. So, of course, as you see, I'm back in the suit. It's been almost a couple of weeks now since I've been wearing my suit. So, as you can see, now look better. Feel a bit more at home now that I'm back in my traditional look. So, as you may see, we have three big stories we're talking about. We're talking about the Tucker Carlson third party. Then we're talking about this top Democrat out of Maine, Graham Plattner, who has been canceled by his own party for sexual misconduct. Go figure. And then we are also talking about the Iran war. And we're also going to, we got four actually. So we're also going to talk about Trump's visit at the NATO summit. And then we are, like I said before, we're going to, our main story tonight, we're going to be talking about the Iran conflict once again, because we're not out of the clear per usual. So it's kind of, we have like a jam-packed story night. So I'm not going to take up too much time right now with my opening hook, but let's just try to have a good show, and hopefully the internet is going to permit. I'm not going to have any troubles right now. It's weird. The lightning looks a little bit weird. I don't know. Maybe because, let me try to change it right quick. Think that'll do. Yeah, there we go. Lightning looks a lot better. I don't know why it was an orange lightning at first, but yeah, looks a lot better. And yeah, so like I said, we have a jam-packed story tonight, 4 stories tonight, so we're not going to take too much time, so we're going to jump right into everything right now. Our first one tonight, we're talking about Tucker Carlson, who is breaking away from the Republican Party. If you already haven't heard, even though his own words has betrayed him as of lately, we don't know 100% if he is leaving the Republican Party or not. But he has announced that he is going to help build a third party. This is from the New York Times, who reported on the matter at the time when he announced this global move to basically challenge the GOP. So the influential conservative commentator's relationship with the president and the GOP fractured over the war with Iran. Now he says he is charting a new course. Tucker Carlson, the influential conservative media commentator, said in an interview that he planned to help start a new political party after leaving the Republican Party, but that he had no interest in running for office. Mr. Carlson, a former close ally of President Trump, who has broken with the Republican Party over the war with Iran, told the Columbia Journalism Review that he was going to help build a third party. There should be a good faith effort to figure out what benefits the country, Mr. Carlson said in an interview with the Columbia Journalism Review published Wednesday. He outlined his plans at a moment of upheaval for both parties. The insurgent left appears ascended in the Democratic Party as the base has grown angry over the party's leadership stance on Israel since the war in Gaza. The Republican Party has been fractured by Mr. Trump's handling of the war with Iran. Mr. Carlson, a popular podcaster and former Fox News host, said last Monday that he was leaving the Republican Party. He described himself on a podcast episode as a consistent defender of the party for 35 years, but said that he believed the party had lost touch with America First principles under Trump. In the Columbia Journalism Review interview, he described some of the policies that might animate his new party, saying he supports ending all immigration. Can't argue with that. a longtime nativist and immigration hardliner prone to conspiratorial views. It's funny. So the article at first seems like it was praising Tucker at all for being against the GOP and seemed like it wanted to start a third party, but then all of a sudden it gets towards like the longtime nativist and immigration hardliner prone to conspiratorial views. This really kind of seems like it kind of gets into like the criticism of like Tucker because he is still conservative after all. So I mean, it's very obvious that the Times, they're written by a bunch of communists, far left nut jobs who are very much pro immigration, and they're very like anecdotal to conservative values. So it seems like to me, they at first they were giving him praise for him breaking away from Trump, but then all of a sudden they seem like they're going back into like taking jabs at Tucker Carlson. Mr. Carlson said immigration drives unemployment. Many economists say it does not. Of course, see what I mean? It does actually drive unemployment for Americans. So Americans that go to school, get the degree in their certain job fields, they're not allowed to get these jobs because these jobs are automatically given to someone who's here on a work visa. So what they're saying, what Tucker is saying is very true. It's causing unemployment for Americans because their jobs are being given to foreigners that are quote unquote best fit for the job, but meanwhile the Americans aren't. He also argued that the two parties did not offer a sufficient contrast on war and finance. That's not a democracy, Mr. Carlson told the Columbia Journalism Review. That's a one-party state posing as a democracy, and it needs to be broken. There's going to be a third party, and I'm going to do everything I can to bring that about. So let's go ahead and go over this right now. So I think we read through enough of it. So like I said, this is Carson's response to how the GOP has been handling the Iran conflict, the immigration, of course, among other things, the economy, healthcare. It's like Carson has been very critical of Trump and his GOP. And he said that Trump's not doing everything that he promised to do during his campaign run in 2024. And he's doing everything that is anecdotal to his entire message. I 100% agree with Tucker Carlson on that. But as far as a third party goes and this strategy and how would it, play out long term, but let's just be completely honest. A third party is not going to really do us no good right now, because honestly speaking, a third party is it's not really realistic. It's not really like a realistic approach, in my opinion, because let's be real. The Republican Party can be saved. It can be liberated. We just have to take it over from the inside and then, basically change the course of what this party stands for to what it ultimately should stand for. That being an America First party, that being a pro-American party, that being a anti-immigration restrictionist, pro-Western values party. We don't need to go and just start, more parties that are not going to really have any traction. We've seen it before. Third parties don't really ever do good in like elections. They never do good when it comes to, having people turn out to vote for them. Most times you look at third parties, they're most like libertarians, and most times they're just going to end up conceding the race and just, siding with whoever they think has the best policies to better suit them. Most libertarians are right-leaning, I believe, but then you have the ones that are left-leaning that always ultimately signs with the Democratic Party no matter what. So, but to ultimately end off right now in this monologue, but it's nothing. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we couldn't liberate the Republican Party. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just that Tucker Carlson is sitting up here jumping into a conclusion that we could just, a third party, with his backing, and I'm guessing along with Marjorie Taylor Greene and forgive me, I'm trying to remember names right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, Thomas Massey, it's pretty much all who I think will probably be involved with this party, and all that I would probably look at as putting towards funding and also probably, thinking about running for this party. So my ultimate view of this is that it sounds good on paper, but on practice, it won't do any traction. It's not going to hold any like weight behind it, because again, the Republican Party can be salvaged and can be saved. The Republican Party can be liberated. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Yes, there's a lot of Jewish donors that are in the party, but to sit up here and say that we're going to abandon the party completely and try to start something new, where historically that just never works. And I get it, because Tucker Carlson is one of the biggest conservative commentators in America right now. He has a massive amount of fan base, regardless of where they're from. He still has a massive voice in America. So his voice holds a lot of weight behind it. But again, we have to really like analyze this appropriately. History never really shows that third parties are ever going to do any type of traction. They're never going to really have the same backing. That's financial wise. And I understand where he's coming from, that we should have a pro-American party that's for America, because the Democratic Party is just about destroying America, and the Republican Party is relatively kind of the same and only has the interest of a certain group of people in America that are top donors and contributing to a lot of these Republican candidates' campaigns, re-elections. And yeah, so it's just not a feasible idea. So let's get one commentator who actually commented on this. It was Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro claims that Tucker Carlson wants Republicans to lose in 2026 so that he can pull the Republican Party over to his pro-Putin, pro-China, pro-Iran socialist ideology. I wouldn't even consider Tucker a socialist, but hey, according to Ben Shapiro, anyone that's not for Republicans is a pro-LGBTQ, China, Iran, and Russia hawk. Even though Trump is very best friends with Putin, crazy enough. I don't know. Does Ben Shapiro support Ukraine in the war against Russia? I know he supports Israel. Go figure. But let's go ahead and listen to what good old Benny Shapiro has to say.
So here's the thing. I hope Tucker launches a third party. Why? Because it'll get crushed. Third parties get crushed. I would love to see a clean referendum on Tucker's perverse views, but he's not going to do that. That's not actually the game. Here's the game. Tucker knows, Tucker sees that Republicans are probably going to have a bad 26. What he wants is to say that the reason that Republicans had a bad 26 is because they alienated key people like him.
Yeah, that's actually very true. And the fact that Trump didn't fulfill on his promises that he guaranteed, no new wars, fixing the economy, making healthcare affordable for all, ending the long-standing Russia-Ukraine conflict, and also taking us out of the Middle East and prioritizing an America First national strategy. But again, Shapiro won't mention none of that. He won't mention none of that, but I mean, he'll gladly demonize anyone who's against Trump's policies as of late.
And thus, if you wish to win in 28, you need to shift the entire policy making direction of the party back in Tucker Carlson's direction. Tucker is not launching the Reform Party. Tucker is launching the DSA, or the TSA, the Tucker Socialists of America. His goal is for Republicans to lose in 2026. He wants, he's not hiding the ball here. He has said he's not voting Republican. He wants Republicans to lose. He is here to.
Why would you at this point? What have they already done? They promised, they guaranteed us they would do what they're supposed to do, but then they haven't done anything. They haven't delivered on their promises. So I'm not going to vote at all. I'm just going to probably sit out the midterms. I will cover them, though, because we actually have one midterm election right now we have to talk about up next. The Graham-Plattner midterm, the Graham-Plattner against Susie Collins that's going on in Maine right now. That's a major one we have to cover that's coming up next after this. But the end off my point, why would anyone want to vote Republican right now when we haven't delivered on what we promised? I'm still waiting on mass deportations. I'm still waiting on us fixing the economy. I'm still waiting on us to pull out this endless war in Iran. I'm still waiting on us to prioritize South America like we originally planned to. None of that's getting solved right now.
Demoralize conservatives prior to 2026. That is the goal. The worse Republicans do, the more Tucker can then try and pretend that the reason Republicans lost is because they disappointed voters like Tucker Carlson. Now, again, the reality is that if Republicans lose in 26, there will be a lot of factors. It's an off-year election. Trump is unpopular and has been unpopular for legitimately a year at this point. But if Republicans don't do well in 2026, it's not because Tucker and his 5 friends didn't vote for Republicans, but that's the entire game. The entire game is to say, I'm launching a third party because there's so much anger, there's so much upset, that my third party is a legitimate force in American politics. But he's not going to do that because that would actually test the proposition. He's not going to do that. That is the goal. Don't you see? Don't you get it? You need us, Republican Party. You must shift all of your policy prescriptions over toward the pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, anti-America side. You have to do that. What Tucker is doing here is not launching some sort of rival to the Republican Party. He's standing outside the Republican Party and then saying that because they didn't hand it to him, that's why we lost. That's the goal. And that is just yet another reason why we actually have to fight, because people who care about the country, people who deeply care about those fundamental principles.
You do not care about the country, though. You do not care about the country. You care about it only whenever it serves Israel's purposes. Whenever it does not, you show exactly where your allegiance lie at. Let's just be real. You do not care about America.
Of America, the stuff we're going to be celebrating this weekend. We actually have to fight 2 forces. One is the left, along with the DSA, and the other is the force of their twisted allies on the woke right, who are holding hands with them, who are hugging them. There is a reason why Tucker Carlson and Cenk
They call it the woke right. It's crazy. They still use that name, bro.
Uyghur are hugging buddies now. Our principles matter. Some of us have had the same principles for our entire political careers. Some of us have never moved, not one iota. Some of us have always defended private property and free markets. Some of us have always defended peace through strength. Some of us have always defended traditional virtue and traditional values. Some of us have not moved. We've been here the entire time. That is why the Daily Wire exists. It's why it was founded. Not just as some sort of generalized anti-left brand, but because we actually care about fundamental principles that undergird the foundation of the country. So yeah, as we celebrate July 4th this weekend, and obviously we should, because America is the greatest place in the history of planet Earth.
If it is, then why do you... Again, all of his words are just complete bullshit. It's just complete asinine bullcrap, because we all know, like, this guy's just like literally a propagandist just for the state of Israel. If he really cared about America the way he does, then he would support Trump signing the bill for decreasing housing prices so young people could probably afford to get a house. But again, he does not support none of those policies because none of those policies better suit his clan. You know, his supremacist ass and his Jewish clan of his cabal of top Jewish donors, you know, they don't support any policy that does not benefit them, but they're happily, and I repeat, happily support any policies that better suit him and his clan. So, like I said, just to end off on that note, this whole idea of a third party, while I may disagree with Ben Shapiro on other things, I may actually have to side with Ben Shapiro on this one. Now, the way he characterizes his third party, I don't believe at all is reflective of what Tucker Carlson is trying to do. I believe he has good means and good intentions to some degree, but at the same time, I truly believe that this third party idea is just completely useless and it doesn't really going to do nothing for us long term. So sorry to say, I don't really support the idea of it, and nor do I really intend to support it. You know, it's a good idea on paper, but to me, it's just going to blow up in everyone's face. It's just not going to do what it needs to do to get the job done. What can happen is young Republicans rise up as time goes on and take political power. And then when the time comes, we overthrow the old guard and then we make the Republican Party into a new party. That's the better solution. So no, I do not support the third party idea. It sounds good on paper and I understand what it's trying to accomplish, but it's just not, it's just a waste of time. So let's go ahead on to another story that we have to cover today. We're talking about, in the CNN interview, woman details alleged sexual assault by Planter. So as you could see, Planter right here, top Democrat that is running right now in Maine, where it was running until he dropped out just the other day. This man right now has got accused of sexual assault by an ex. Her name is Gina Racekit. That's her name. This is something that I tried for many years to forget. The woman, Gina Racekit, said on CNN. And we also have the CNN interview right here too as well. So this one's off. It pretty much it's a secondhand reporting from New York Times, because the original reporting was from Politico. So I have both articles right here. So I'm going to read through the the New York Times first, and then we're going to go to the political one, which gives out more details, and then we're going to go to the video. Gina Razorkid, who accused Graham Plattner of sexual assault in an interview published in the Political on Monday, detailed her recollection of the alleged attack in an extended interview with the CNN host Jake Tapper that aired on Monday evening. She said that Mr. Plattner had drunkenly assaulted her at her home in 2021, and she described the encounter as grape, detailing the violent struggle that she said took place. She recounted that a sewing cabinet had been knocked over, causing a needle to be stuck in her leg. This is something that I tried for many years to forget, Miss Razorkid said. Mr. Plattner, 41, called all allegations of non-consensual behavior categorically false. In a video posted on social media on Monday, Miss Razorkid, 41, said that she met Mr. Plattner on a dating app in 2019. God damn, bro, 2019, bro, dating apps. Bro, remember that dating apps in 2019. Man, I don't know if people still meet each other on dating apps, because I think now that's just used for a way to just like buy sex now. You know, I think dating apps now are just like kind of like used to like, I don't know, like get hookups scheduled. Because I don't think anyone is meeting their significant other off a dating app anymore. So 2019, it found him intelligent and charming, but that he also self-medicated with alcohol. One night in 2021, he texted her that he would come over to her house. She said, I said, no, don't come over, Miss Razorkid told CNN. Like, I'm not in the mood. Don't come over. She didn't hear back from him, so she assumed he got the message. He said, but half an hour later, I heard a noise outside my door. Then he came in. He just came into my house. It was unlocked. I mean, how is your house unlocked? The only one that can lock those doors are you. So you telling me you left your doors unlocked and he just literally just let himself in? I don't know what neighborhood you live in, but it's like in America, that's kind of dangerous to leave your doors unlocked. Unless you like live in like a gated community. After entering her home uninvited, Mr. Plattner jumped on top of her while she was laying on the couch and indicated that he had intentions that were sexual in nature. Miss Razorkid said, I remember just at first being like, hey, I'm not into this. She said, like, don't. I'm not in the mood. Then she noticed a look in his eyes and the smell of alcohol, she said. I was like, this is different. He is heavily intoxicated, she said. And that blank stare was kind of like a photographic memory that I still have of that night. Okay, let me go keep going. Miss Razorkid said that she pushed Mr. Plattner away when he was on top of her that night in 2021, and that he backed into her antique sewing kit, causing sewing needles, tape, and yarn to scatter and fall on the floor. I remember specifically him grabbing at my chest, and I hit his hand, and I said, don't touch me, she said. Elevating the situation in his level of intoxication, I basically felt safe just complying, Miss Razorkid said. Before that point, she maintained, that she had so starchly said no that in her view, he could not have believed she was consenting. I don't believe that you can think that that scenario was consensual, she said, adding, when somebody in the middle of it says, don't touch me, like, that's obviously not consensual, she said, adding that he had apologized in moments of lunacy. At the same time, she said he seemed unaware of what he had done. He fell asleep in her bed afterward, she said, and then woke up and went to put his arm around her, which Miss Razorkid said made her realize this person doesn't know what happened wasn't okay. So you didn't call the fucking cops after the fact? What the fuck? So hold on, let me get this straight. She didn't call the cops after the fact, but she let him sleep in the bed. So this whole story just doesn't make sense to me. So he apparently came into a house which was unlocked. You know, he jumped on top of her, whatever. The way she sounded like she wasn't struggling that badly. It's just, I hate to say that. It just sounds like she wasn't struggling that badly, just based off of the account. Yeah, she's saying no. he's intoxicated, so obviously he's not going to remember, the non-consistent, that I'm not consenting to us not having intercourse. But at the same time, she said she just felt it was better to just comply and then let him sleep in her bed afterwards instead of calling the police and let them know that, hey, I'm being attacked, I'm being raped, to report a crime, to get this guy picked up or arrested. So instead of doing all that, she just let him sleep in the bed, let him wake up next morning, and she's like, oh, you don't remember what just happened last night? Like, basically, you just raped me? It gets even worse from here. Because let me go, there's another part. At the same time, she said he seemed unaware of what he had done. He fell asleep in her bed afterward. She said, and then woke up and went to go put his arm. Yeah, okay, let me see. I remember taking his arm and throwing it back at him, and I said, are you serious, Graham? She recounted. See, the way she's talking to him, like, it's like a relationship. Like, are you serious, Graham? She recounted, added in explicit, and he's like, what? And I'm like, do you not remember what happened last night? He was like, no. So you're having a literally like a couple screaming match right now. Say, oh, you like, oh, you don't remember what happened last night? He's like, well, what happened last night? Oh, you raped me. You didn't call the cops though. Why didn't you not call the cops? I don't understand this whole story. It just doesn't make sense on face value. She had lain in bed in a state of panic all night, she said, and later worried that he had gotten her pregnant. Oh, he said he did not speak to her again. Miss Razorkid had described some of what happened that night to the New York Times this spring, saying that he had arrived at her house drunk after she had asked him not to come over, and at the time she declined to share further details of the encounter on the record. But she said she had found his behavior reckless and unsettling, and had cut off contact with him soon after that episode. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and flat out say it. I don't think this is grape. I'm just gonna keep it real right now. And I'm not like this is the second time. Like I did the same thing with like Eric Swalwell, where I defended him basically and said that his scenario doesn't sound like a sexual misconduct either. And this is kind of the same thing with kind of a Graham Plattner with this woman. This woman is just kind of like clearly they must have had like a disagreement. They must have had like an argument. She probably figured out, oh, he's probably texting some other women and she was mad at him or whatever. And then he said, hey, I'm drunk one night. Let me come over, let's, spend a night together. She said no. He came over anyway. The door was unlocked. And he came up there, jumped on top of her. And the next thing you know, she says, oh, it's better to just comply instead of, fighting him. And then she basically just, lay in bed all night with him, especially after the fact it happened. She didn't call the cops. She didn't call a family friend. She didn't just call anybody really to help her. And then the next day, they're just having like a civil, like couples argument that, oh, remember last night you raped me. I'm just like, the way the story is told, it just seems like it might actually just be like her just being mad at him over something, and now she's just trying to ruin this guy's life for no apparent reason whatsoever, besides the fact that at the time they probably have a disagreement. But these articles are not giving them justice on that part because they're taking a woman's side. But I digressed on that. Yeah. So exclusive. Woman who dated Graham Plattner says he sexually assaulted her. The Maine Democrat denied the allegations and said any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically untrue. Any woman who dated Maine U.S. Senator candidate Graham Plattner says he forced her to have sex with him nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objections and allegation. Plattner denies. Bro, that's crazy. So it's pretty much relatively the same and all that. Nothing's really, said any different in this political article right here. But the way it's described, it just doesn't seem like it's grape. It just doesn't seem that way. It just seems like, to me, she was like the say 5 years. He forced her to have sex with her. Are you serious? 5 years. 5 years. You were in a non-consensual forceful sexual relationship with a man, and you didn't call the cops at all during those 5 years. You didn't even think about it. So you're basically accusing this man of like trafficking you. But where's the evidence to back any of this stuff up, though? You're just hearing hearsay. So let's go to the CNN interview that was done by Jake Tapper.
Relationship with Graham Plattner as a very good example of what modern dating is like.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that
Holy shit, bro. Now I definitely don't believe he did anything wrong, bro. What the fuck? Yo, you get a little, yo, man, what the, yo, man, the fucking harpoons, bro. What the fuck? That's Gina, bruh. It's my first time seeing her. I didn't even watch the interview, and this is my first time watching on air, bruh. Ain't no way, nigga. Ain't no fucking way. Yeah, he didn't do it. He didn't fucking do it. That's the black side coming out right now when I say, nigga, bro, there is no way that this guy did that.
I think there's a lot of situations.
I'm sorry, but bro, if your standards are that low to go for a fat woman, I'm sorry, but it's like there's no way I believe this woman anything happened to her. I'm sorry.
Relationships. I think people are dating multiple people at the same time, whether that's known or not known by the people involved. So it was just a very common practice, is what I viewed it as.
And kind of casual.
Yeah, very casual.
And when did you meet him, and how did you meet him?
Met him on Bumble, actually, in 2019. And I had known who he was. He grew up in the next town over. We had like a mutual family friend, so I always knew of his existence, but that was when we actually met.
And what did you think of him?
At first, I thought he was great. He's very well spoken. He's intelligent. He's charming. I thought a lot of good things. We had a great first date. It went and flowed really well.
He has described himself as self-medicating with alcohol.
Yeah.
He has described himself that way.
Yeah.
So I would think maybe that would have reared its head.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's something that I think a lot of people are desensitized to. In general, heavy drinking, and especially out of the relationship that I had just come out of. So it wasn't anything abnormal to me. I remember we were out one night and he was drinking, and that's when he told me that he has PTSD.
When the New York Times story came out, you were in it, but you didn't go as far in that story as you are today.
Yeah.
Why not?
I didn't want to. I didn't want to have to violate this huge level of privacy to my own life to be able to infer that this person is not honest and trustworthy. I felt really protective.
Bro, she just sounds like a spiteful woman, bro. I would keep it real. Like, I don't at all agree with Graham's politics at all, and I have really no reason to sit there to defend him. However, I can call bullshit when I know when I see one. This woman is fucking lying out through her fucking teeth right now. This man didn't fucking do nothing to her, bro. I really do not believe in my heart of hearts he did anything.
Of my own privacy throughout this whole process. And it got to a point where my privacy was no longer going to happen. And that was when I kind of just made the decision that, like, I'm going to say my piece and get it out there. I had tried to give the impression that something, worse happened. And that's when it was like, I refused to comment further.
You definitely alluded to a bad night.
Yeah.
So bad that you never saw him again afterwards.
Yeah.
But just to underline the point, you're not coming forward because you have any political motivation.
No, not at all. That was actually one of the huge reasons that I didn't come forward and still struggled. Like, that was a huge moral conflict to feel like.
Because you'd like a Democrat to be in the Senate.
Yeah. I like the things that he speaks about. They're important. They're important to people. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, she's probably one of these pro-LGBTQ people, pro-minority groups. Probably believe the police are bad, need to be defunded. Fuck ICE. She's this type of fat mouth breathing bitch who sits up here and always speaks about all that stuff. And like I said before, look, it's tragic that there are all women out here that do suffer from being raped by predators, but like, let's be real right now. Let's be completely honest right now. From reading the story, this just sounds like a couple's dispute. And she's taking away, she's trying to take away consent to try to basically ruin this man's life in a way. And that's just all it seemed like. You're laying in bed with your literal abuser and you didn't think to call the cops. And then from what Politico said, it was 5 years of non-consensual sex. That doesn't sound right at all. You were with the guy for 5 years and you're saying you didn't want to have sex with the guy at all, but yet in the New York Times, you said he was charming and intelligent. Just come on, man.
But
this woman's full of shit.
At the end of the day, you feel he's not being honest.
He's not being honest, no.
And we should note, this is 2021 we're talking about. It's only 5 years ago. Tell me about that. When was it?
It was at the end of 2021. I remember it being shortly after I moved back into my winter home, because that is where it happened. And it was a night where him and I were texting back and forth, and he had taken something that I said as an invitation, and that's not how I meant it. And I quickly clarified, and he sent a message back indicating that he would come over, and I said, no, don't come over. Like, I'm not in the mood, don't come over. And I was more stern with that message. And then I didn't hear back from him. So I thought that that meant he got the message or gave up on it or whatnot. And so like half an hour later, I heard a noise outside my door, and then he came in. He just came into my house. It was unlocked. I live in an area where you don't usually have to lock your doors. I do now.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that clears it up. So she lives in like a gated community. But the point of the matter is, like, if he knows your door's unlocked, let himself in, and now you're gonna lock your doors because like the whole purpose is like this thing just sounds like a complete asinine shit. Yeah. So she had her doors unlocked. He let himself in, even though she told him not to come over, whatever. Clearly they were having a dispute. Okay, clearly they were having a dispute. But this is the problem when you date like these wokey ass women, because they always think that, you know, they're always like this, bro. Especially the fat ones. They're always like this, man. You know, it's crazy that she sat on this for a minute, but then right when he's gaining traction in Maine to beat Susan Collins, she came out now, and now she's doing a media tour with these allegations against him to destroy him. Maybe because he's like one of these socialist Democrats. You know, Graham Plattner is a socialist, and Hassan Piker was, very vocal in supporting him. And Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, which I got all their reactions to as well. But the point of the matter is, she waited to a certain time to now to come out with this allegations against Graham. You couldn't do that, I don't know, before he was, gaining a lot of traction. It doesn't make a lot of the inconsistencies do not make a lot of sense to me. They just do not. I just don't see at all like how this is categorically great, even by basically her own testimony. It just sounded like it was just like they were having a dispute as from a normal couple standpoint.
So he came in, and I realized, okay, he didn't listen. He's in my home. And I was laying on the couch. It was probably pretty late at night, and I was already ready for bed. I just wasn't in bed. And so he had kind of like jumped on top of me and indicated that he had intentions that were sexual in nature. And I remember just...
Bro, I don't know if bro can do that, man. Looking at her, I'm having a hard time looking at her, man. Fuck, if I was Ted Bundy and I was like, a dark humor joke right quick. If I was Ted Bundy and she was like potentially one of my victims, I would just say, I'm good. Looking at her, it makes me want to rethink my life right now. I don't understand. Like, I don't think Graham did this shit, bro. Just looking at her, I don't think Graham did it. I do not think Graham did anything forcefully to this woman. This woman, looking at her, she look like she'll comply. I'm being facetious. I'm just telling jokes, but it's like, bro, come on.
At first being like, hey, I'm not into this. Like, I'm not in the mood. Like, don't, whatever. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I feel like I've said this enough times. Like, he's not listening to me, or he's not hearing me. And I looked at him, and I remember this very specific look in his eyes. And I could smell alcohol, and I was like, this is different. He is heavily intoxicated. Like, and that blank stare was kind of like a photographic memory that I still have of that night. And his... that was me recognizing what the situation was, and this wasn't just like, oh, hey, somebody showed up and I'm gonna tell him to go home. Like, he was heavily intoxicated, had intentions with me, and wasn't listening when I said no. And
you were saying no, don't, over and over and over.
That's their audio. That's not my audio.
I remember, obviously I've had to recall a lot of this. This is something that I tried for many years to forget. And so small details, might get past me. But yes, I remember very specifically saying, I'm not into this. In my message previously, I told him I had had an old back injury, and I remember saying, like, I'm not in this. I've had a long day. My back hurts. Like I was in that kind of mood, like the leave me alone mood. And there was a little bit of like scuffle, like altercation. The house that I live in has like this antique sewing kit that I kept beside the couch, and
Yes, that's the sewing kit part.
that
When he
got
knocked it over.
He like backed into it, or something was maybe pushed into it by me, or something happened in that moment, and that thing got spilled.
You
And
remember pushing him away?
I remember potentially pushing away with my legs, like, and then
Bro.
as he backed into it, it spilt, and all of the sewing needles and tape and yarn and everything went everywhere. Everything had fallen onto the floor. And in that moment, I evaluated my safety. Like, a drunk person who's blackout drunk is in my home, has these intentions with me, has already caused this amount of destruction and not listening to me. And so I basically felt safe as just complying.
You normally use protection.
Yeah.
And
Oh
this
my
time you
gosh.
didn't. And you didn't want that.
No.
And he didn't.
So it sounded like to me she would have just complied if he had protection from the jump instead of just the whole fighting back and forth. He was blacked out drunk. He obviously wanted to get his his junk wet, but she didn't want to do anything, and he wasn't in the right space to properly think to put a condom on, and she felt it easy to comply instead of just going back and forth with him because he's about to pass out at any moment. Instead of him just putting on a condom, I really feel like if he put on a condom, she would have just complied from the jump. That's all I'm hearing right now from this woman.
No, I don't think my words were falling on deaf ears or drunk ears.
And you were still saying, don't do this, or I'm not into this?
I remember specifically him like grabbing at my chest, and I like hit his hand and I said, don't touch me. And I remember that during the altercation.
And then
Specifically.
he kept going.
Yeah, and it was this weird mix of like coming in and out of, I don't think consciousness is the word, but like coming to and kind of falling back into that drunken, I don't know what I'm doing state. And yeah, and he would apologize in those moments and then go back to doing what he was doing.
So he was aware that he was doing something wrong.
That's
not-
saying sorry.
I feel like he was.
God damn, CNN, what the fuck's going on with your audio? Bro, Jake Tapper has an echo going on. What? Don't these audio guys know how to fix that?
In moments.
Is there any way that he thought this was consensual, or no? Just because
I don't believe that you can think that that scenario was consensual. You have to understand that wasn't, when somebody is repeatedly, when somebody in the middle of it says, don't touch me, like, that's obviously not consensual.
especially if he's apologizing
Oh my
on
gosh.
occasion.
Yeah. And that next morning, so after everything ended, I ran to the bathroom, which is just beside my bedroom, and I was in there for a while and just trying to like comprehend things. Like,
Were you crying? Were you?
I honestly I don't think I was crying. I was like more in shock. And
So not crying, not calling the cops, I don't, like I said, this just gets more and more like, damn, I think this just happened. This kind of thing with the Eric Swalwell situation. It's like, bro, these women come out here and making these allegations. It just seems like to me, they're just like spiteful exes. Then they're actually like abuses of like actual sexual misconduct. I don't see how any of this from this story, what I'm hearing so far, is at all like constituted as like grape. Yeah, she said she told him not to do nothing or whatever. He's drunk, but then she felt like in her head that it's best to just comply right now with a blacked out drunken, drunker. But at the same time, it's just like, you complied, and then you stay in the bed all night instead of just like calling the cops to come and arrest him while you was just laying in his bed all night. Bro, this is the inconsistencies in the story, and it's just like from her own testimony, it just sounds like it just doesn't fit the line of like at all grape, in my opinion. Yeah, she's using the words that she said, no, don't touch me or whatever, as her way of trying to say, look, this not me consenting to this or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, like from her own words that he didn't use a condom and I was afraid I was pregnant. Now, if he used a condom from the jump, would she have just done all this instead of just like agreeing to it? And then and even before he even got there, it seemed like to me they were having like a dispute that led up to this entire altercation that night, or even you could even call it that. So that's just the way I'm viewing it right now.
And yeah, just trying to understand like what had just happened, especially like this is a person I have known and have trusted and have had very consensual relationships with, like, all along.
Goddamn, seeing CNN, bro, what's going on with the audio and CNN's back right now? All the audio guys, they must be trying to, I guess, work around and trying to fix it. But like, bro, come on, the audio is going in and out.
So that was a really hard thing to understand, that this was a person I trusted. And
make sure you smash the like button too as well to the video.
So I spent a little bit of time in the bathroom, and when I came back out, he was asleep in my bed. And at that point, I didn't know what my options were. Like, obviously, I don't want this person in my house. And when I, earlier had realized how drunk he was, I knew that he had driven over that way. Like, I'm surprised he made it to my house. And if I woke him up and sent him home, like, I am now making the decision to put somebody that drunk on the road. And I didn't want to live with the fact that, like, if he got into an accident or hurt somebody else. And I remember thinking that I could tell him to leave, and I could call the police immediately, and I could at least get him caught for drunk driving. So I was like, I'm going to let him sleep, and the second he wakes up, I'm going to tell him to leave. And
see what I mean?
He slept. I lay there in like a state of
If he was truly a monster, you wouldn't fucking care if he got into a wreck and died. Come on, man. This just doesn't sound like, bro, I'm telling you, this does not sound like a great story at all. This does not sound like that. It just sounds like a dispute between couples. That's just what I'm getting from this, man. A dispute between couples happens all the time. And then categorically, what she says is grape or whatever, because like he came on to her or whatever, and then she just felt best to comply. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it's like everything that she's saying right now in this interview just doesn't sound like at all he was like the monster she's making him out to be. It just sounds like to me she was just being mad. She just being mad just about that his success. And even she says it herself. She didn't want to go out here and ruin his chance because she wants a Democrat to be, to have a representation in Congress in Maine. The only problem is now he's going, not only is he dropped out from the Senate race, whoever's going to take his spot is not even going to have a chance to really beat Susan Collins. That's done and cooked. So not only did this girl probably ruin their best chance at probably winning a Democratic seat in the Senate from Maine, she just killed the momentum at all, because I think Graham was very popular. And now because this fat woman couldn't keep her fucking mouth shut, now she decided, you know what, I'm just gonna kill the momentum completely and make these stupid allegations about he did something, very, what sounds like to me, it sounds consensual. She just takes away the consent. So
like all night. And I remember turning on, I have like one of those noise machines that you sleep with, and I turn it on ocean waves, and I'm like, I'll just try to meditate. And it didn't work. So in the morning, he woke up and he went to go put his arm around me. And I was like, whoa. And realizing this person doesn't know that what happened wasn't okay. And so I remember taking his arm and throwing it back at him. And I said, are you fucking serious, Graham? And he's like, what? And I'm like, do you not remember what happened last night? He's like,
see, they're talking like they're a regular couple, bro.
I'm like, okay, I need you to get dressed and leave and never talk to me again. Like, nothing that happened was okay.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's be the most fat women of all to be the most progressive. Like, bro, I'm telling you, it'd be the most fattest women to be hardcore progressives. Because, like, just look at her, man. It's like, just don't believe bro did it. I just don't believe he did it. But here's one thing I will say. The Republicans have now got a chance to dog out the Democrats because of this whole situation. So while Maine U.S. Senate candidate Graham Plattner is now holding the Democrat Party hostage, refusing to drop out following grape claims unless he gets to choose his successor. This is from the New York Post. Total meltdown mode in internal war. The leftist wants to get the same kind of radical socialists into the race. Keep the seat red, Susan Collins. So this is from Fox News.
Who stood by him through other allegations are now
This is all the top Democrats have asked Graham to drop out of the race.
rapidly abandoning him, many of them saying it's time for him to end his campaign. Alexis McAdams is joining us live with all of the fallout from this as that fallout grows by the minute. Alexis, this is just a drip, drip, drip when it comes to Graham Plattner.
Bill, that's right. We talked about it the other day. First the Nazi tattoo, then the allegations of physical abuse. That wasn't enough for Congressman
he has a Nazi tattoo apparently on his chest. He didn't know that he didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo.
Waiting to see if he pulls his endorsement. Calls for Graham Plattner, though, are growing for him to drop. Even the mayor of New York City just a short time ago, Bill, says this guy has to go after a woman who dated Plattner, her name is Jenny Rakakot, accused him of raping her back in 2021. She told CNN he forced himself on her despite her telling him to stop.
Did Graham Plattner rape you?
By definition, yes.
That's who stood by him through other allegations.
Yeah, don't know about that one, but I mean, I could see why everyone wants to distance himself from him. So this is Brandon Gill. He was on Fox News and talked about this situation too.
Graham Plattner didn't just come out of nowhere from Maine. Party leaders looked for a candidate that they believed would resonate with young white men, and they found the biggest scumbag they possibly could, because Graham Plattner is the caricature of white men that Democrats have in their heads, and that's who they think can carry that message. I think that we're going to win. The facts are obviously on our side, and I think the vast majority of Americans outside of the liberal enclaves on the coasts find this kind of behavior and rhetoric and character absolutely repellent. Graham Plattner.
Yep. Let's go ahead. So Zohran Mamdani now has changed his tune. Now he's called for Graham Plattner to also drop out of the race, which he did. I have to find his updated video of Graham Plattner announcing him dropping out of the Senate race. But here's Zohran Mamdani says, I believe it's time for him to drop out of the race.
Given that you have a sort of ascendant role in the Democratic Party, could you talk about the Maine Senate race? Do you think that Graham Plattner should drop out of the race? And do you have any intention of endorsing any candidates in competitive races outside of New York, El Said, or anyone else?
No, I believe that it's time for him to drop out of the race. And when it comes to my own endorsements, I've made 8 endorsements at the state and federal level. They've all been right here in New York City. I'm incredibly excited at the fact that they won their races, and that's where my focus is for now.
So Zoran's turned his back on Graham, who was one of his staunch supporters. So it seems like Graham's lost a lot. So Bernie Sanders has now called for Graham Plattner to drop out. I have spoke with Graham Plattner about the best path forward for Maine. In light of these very serious allegations, I have recommended that he step aside. This comes weeks after Bernie saying Graham Plattner will be the next senator of Maine. And I have Bernie Sanders' tweet right here. I have spoken with Graham Plattner about the best path forward for Maine. In light of these very serious allegations, I recommend that he step aside. So that's officially from Bernie Sanders' own X account right here. So he's called for him to drop out. Breaking the odds of Graham Plattner dropping out have risen 9% from just 2% this morning. I mean, you could just bet on anything these days, bro. That's crazy. So Hassan Piker, who endorsed Graham Plattner, even stood up for him, even when he had the Nazi tattoo on his chest. Now he's decided to finally distance himself from Graham after the sexual allegations have come out against him, even though I think they're bullshit and bogus. You know, Hassan decided to capitulate with the mob and just, denounce Graham and says that he needs to drop out the race. So let's go ahead and listen to what, Hassan Piker has to say.
Incident to Politico in 3 interviews over the past 2 weeks. Politico also spoke with a man Rascott dated and confided in the years after the alleged incident, and reviewed documents including emails between Rascott and her therapist and messages between Rascott and acquaintance. That is curtains. Okay. Mossad paid her as? No. That is the trifecta.
Mossad didn't pay her for that. Okay. Bro. Come on.
That is the trifecta of a reliable allegation. That's holy shit.
Believe all
Okay.
women, huh? That's what the left does. They believe
Personal
all women.
first-hand testimony to a friend, a close confidant, back from way before Graham Plattner ever fucking ran for Congress. Are you kidding me? And then also direct testimony from a therapist.
Bro.
That is.
Of course, the left will always chew this shit up and support this crap. That's what they always do. So let's get Nick Fuentes' take on this too as well. And I think his take was the best ones, besides myself, because I hold myself very prideful in this, and I'm always going to be completely honest. Like, Graham Plattner, just like, look, let's be real. Didn't do anything wrong. I don't believe he did. Just based off the testimony, I just don't think he did anything wrong. Then after this, we're moving on to Trump's visit to NATO, this NATO summit, and lashing out at allies. That's up next after this.
And this is a shame because Susan Collins is a terrible Republican.
That is actually very true. Susan Collins has always voted against Republican interest and always voted against, the interests of America. She's almost voted against every time Trump's has something that's actually pro-American. Susan Collins has voted against all of that. She's a straight up rhino, only Republican in name. But again, some of these fucking other Republicans want to support her because she's a Republican. And we got to stop doing that shit. And we actually have to start demonizing and getting rid of some of these ones that are in office that are going to always be against the agenda. If they're against the agenda, then they're against the message. That's how I look at it. But let's get Nick Fuentes' point of view.
And she's one of the worst. Always votes against Trump, is in no way, shape, or form even meaningfully right wing.
Yeah.
And so if any Republican needs to go, it's her. And I don't like Graham Plattner. I think he's another one of these communists and obviously a degenerate. And I'm not a big fan of his either. But Susan Collins really has got to go. She is easily one of, if not the worst Republican that's running for re-election in the Senate. And I would be ecstatic to see her lose the race and for the Republicans to lose the Senate with her. That would be phenomenal. And so it's sad to see that Graham Plattner is being destroyed over this. It's funny, though, because this is just another Me Too sex scandal, just another Me Too fake allegation. So this woman is claiming that 5 years ago, her boyfriend, who she's in a situationship with, on and off, barges into her home and starts being forceful with her. She says in an interview that what she said to him when he starts initiating sex is, "My back hurts. I don't feel like it." They have sex. She doesn't even kick him out of the house. She goes to bed with him in the same bed. He stays the night. She sleeps with him in the same bed. She wakes up in the morning and says, hey. She wakes up in the morning after this traumatic rape that she needs therapy for. She wakes up. "Hey, you remember what happened last night? That you raped me?" And he goes, "No, I don't remember." And then he goes home. She continues seeing him for a month later.
That's one part I actually forgot to mention. So he did continue seeing her even after this incident took place. Even after she said that he raped her, she still continued seeing Graham. This is why I've always said, like, bro, these allegations are bullshit. These women lie, bro. Literally. Even a month after the supposed rape took place, he still saw her. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, bro. This is what I've always said. Like, bro, these women will literally lie and just lie off their asses only whenever you don't give them what they want. This fat cow lying off her ass, I don't believe Graham did anything. I don't. Her own testimony herself straight up says, your house was unlocked, you let himself in, you didn't bother calling the cops after the alleged incident took place. You complained about him not using a condom. If he used a condom, I don't even think you would have even fought him on anything. You would have just complied. And they were already having a rocky relationship. And I think earlier in the day, they were already having a disagreement. And then he just came over and they just, like she said, she straight up says, "Oh, he raped me," or whatever. I just do not believe that's happened at all. There's no realm of possibility where I believe that's the case. Just do not. Her own testimony betrays her. Everything she says is very contradictory to another thing. And then her running to the bathroom, not even saying I'm not crying, I'm more shocked or whatever, you know. And then you'll like have like a argument, like a regular couple's argument in the morning when he woke up for him being blacked out drunk. I didn't want to send him back on the road because I didn't want him to get into a wreck or whatever. That's what she told Jake Tapper when we just watched the interview. It's just like, come on, bro. This shit just sounds like a couple's dispute. More than an actual sexual misconduct case.
Waiting to see if she's going to get pregnant because she wasn't on birth control. She continues seeing him for a month after the fact. And then when she realizes she wasn't pregnant, she says, hey, by the way, when you had sex with me all that time ago, that wasn't consensual. We're over. She later texts a friend who is interested in dating him. She says he's a charming guy, intelligent, charismatic. She goes, but he's a little recklessly consensual sometimes. Recklessly sort of consensual sometimes, she says. This is how she describes her rapist. No police report. No. She comes forward with the allegation years after the fact. She tells the New York Times he had inappropriate conduct, but she didn't say it was a rape until after he won the primary. And now that it looks like he might actually get the seat and win the election and become a senator, now it's a rape.
True.
Okay. Now it's a rape. And so this is just one of the most ridiculous Me Too stories I've ever heard of all time. You've heard some pretty ridiculous Me Too, rape allegations, sexual assault. This one really takes the cake. So first of all, and listen, I've never had a relationship. Maybe I don't understand how this works.
I have, and I know it's not rape. It's not rape.
How is it that someone you're actively having sex with can rape you? I really don't get that. I understand if it was maybe forced or you weren't in the mood, you didn't feel like it. This is a guy that she's having sex with for some time. He comes to her house drunk and has sex. I understand it made her feel uncomfortable. I understand maybe she didn't want it in that moment. But it's not like she doesn't want it overall. You're having casual sex with this guy in a non-committal way. You're in a situationship with him. Are you really going to say, well, I wasn't really feeling like it in that moment. And even though we spent the whole night together, and even though I cooked him breakfast the next morning, and even though I stayed with him the rest of the month, and even though I told my friend he's a charming guy, that actually it was a traumatic, forceful rape, I just find that really hard to believe.
Yeah. Dude.
And so sadly, the Democrats are going to be hoisted upon their own petard.
It's how they always do. They hang themselves every time. Sometimes a sexual misconduct case comes out, these guys go always condemn one of their own. They do it every time it happens. Leftists can never stand their ground and defend their own, especially in cases like this, because they have to capitulate to the mob. They have to capitulate to their ideology. They have to capitulate to their overall theology, because I think leftism is like transcend itself, become more of like a religion now for some of these people. So anything to go against that, especially like a sexual misconduct case, you have to believe the woman and never believe the man. So that's what I think would happen with this.
They're, once again, as always, going to lose. Just like Harvey Weinstein before this and others. Kevin Spacey, they're going to lose one of the greats, one of their heroes, because of their own ridiculous feminist Me Too witch hunt mentality. And now it looks like not only is Graham Plattner going to exit the race, everybody's calling on him to resign.
Yep.
Including the former chair of the DNC, Chuck Schumer, the Democrat Party leadership, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, all the major Democrats are calling for him to exit the race. He's got about another week to leave. And Democrats have, I think, until the end of the month to find a replacement. He's almost surely going to leave the race.
And that he did, actually. So let me look up Graham Plattner's, while I'm looking at this right quick, let me look up when he actually dropped out. Because I know he made a post himself. Okay. Graham Plattner, because I know he announced that he was leaving the race. Oops. Spelled that. I'm fucking hungry, bro. Fuck. It's like my stomach, it just hit me all of a sudden right now. I'm getting so hungry right now. Every time I come on stream, it always hits me. So let me see. I know he made a video announcing that he was leaving the race. Okay, here it is. So breaking, it's official. Graham Plattner has bent over to the establishment pressure and dropped out of the main Senate race. Dude pretended to be fighting but totally surrendered. That's from Nick Sorter. He's maintaining that all the allegations are false. Sure, bro. I mean, I believe him on that. I'm sorry to say that. I do believe him.
Hey everyone, it's Graham Plattner here. As many of you know, over the past couple days,
Bro has that stupid mustache like a lot of these guys do, bro. I hate that mustache.
I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear.
Why do a lot of libtard dudes always have these mustaches, man? I don't understand. Why is that style so like libtardish? Like that, it just looks so gay.
This is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. It's not real. It has placed an immense amount of weight.
Come on, bro. You about to start crying?
On me as I think about what needs to happen now.
Come on, bro. You about to start crying right now? Come on, stop being a little bitch.
Amy and I are regular people. We were not looking for this experience. We were not looking to get into politics. We had no desire to run for office. I just want you to think about like what you would do as a regular person in a position where a much larger world, large forces were working against you personally to accuse you of the worst thing that a person could do, and it was not remotely true. I learned about this through press inquiries with no time to truly respond, no time for investigations before a corporate media system and the political establishment got to act as judge, jury, and executioner.
He has a point on that.
Accusations are supposed to be the beginning of things.
He has a point on that.
I think it's really important to understand why this is happening in the timeline, why this is happening right now. Much like October, when the first attack started, much like the news that was created the week before the primary, there is a reason that this is happening now. I only have until July 13th until I am officially the nominee. This was the last week to try to get me off of the ballot. And that's why this is occurring. It's not the false allegations, though, that have brought us to where we are. It's the fact that they are being used by the political establishment to put structural pressure on us. We live in a political system that is not built for normal people. It is a system that is built structurally to make sure that movements like ours cannot flourish. That if they begin to succeed, they can be crushed. What we have accomplished here, you made possible. The people of Maine, the volunteers, the voters, the grassroots donors, and I have all the faith in the world that we could win if we could continue to harness that. But the brutal political reality is that they are going to take everything away from us.
Bro's just yapping
Those in
right
power,
now. He's
who have
yapping.
the ability to do so, are using these allegations as an excuse to take away all of the things that we need to run a campaign. We are going to lose our ability to fundraise. We are going to lose our ability to access voter data. We are going to lose all of the things that any campaign needs on the basic level simply to function. Larger organizations, the national level party, the bigger donor networks, they have all committed to spending no money in this race if I'm in it. They would rather see Susan Collins win.
She is going to win now for sure.
The next senator from Maine. What comes next needs to come from the people. Needs to come from the people of Maine. Needs to come from the voters who on June 9th, at a strength of over 150,000, the largest number in the history of Maine primaries, said no to this kind of politics. Voted for a politics that would actually represent them. Voted against the political system, against the donor class, against the entrenched forces. And I'm not asking for how this process is going to work. I'm not trying to dictate to anyone who it should be or how we get there, but I will say this. It needs to be open, transparent, and democratic. It needs to be reflecting the will and the values of the people that built this movement, the people that showed up on June 9th. People in D.C. need to stay in D.C. Decisions should not be made in back rooms by people in places of political power. Party apparatchiks are not the ones to make these decisions. These decisions need to be made in the open by the people of this state, the people who got us here. This is exactly the kind of political system that everyone voted against on June 9th. And for that reason, we need to be assured that it is going to be open and democratic as we move forward. Amy and I struggled about getting into this.
All right, bro, you just yapping. Come on, let's get to the point.
Had to have that exact same conversation.
Come on, man, you just yapping at this point.
We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be me. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not.
It actually is, bro. I mean, like, look, you're giving it's emotion and guilt to the mob. You're basically kind of giving up to the mob instead of just trying to fight the mob and try to fight them off and stand 10 toes down that you didn't do anything wrong and that you're going to fight to the end of it. People would respect you more instead of giving in to a party that always just have to demonize their own whenever shit like this comes out. So my initial thought, Graham didn't do nothing wrong. Graham, this just seems like a consensual on and again and off again relationship between two consenting adults. It's just only in that moment they had only in that moment that night they had a misunderstanding, seems like to me. And how that misunderstanding came is because Graham put on the condom. He wasn't as half drunk. She probably would have still had sex with him. Come on, man. They were an on and again and off again relationship. And she continued seeing him after the fact only because she thought she was pregnant. If she was pregnant with him, she would probably want to be with him forever then, and she gave him a child. It's very clear. So this whole notion that Graham did something very, very, I can't think of the words right now, that he did something very far, went too far, and he did something very, inhumane. It's just completely just doing disjustice to the actual facts and to actually listen to what she's actually saying, rather to replying with feelings. Like if we actually listen to what she's saying, most of her own rhetoric betrays the entire, case. It betrays the entire narrative that, yeah, Graham did something wrong. He raped her. He didn't. It seems like to me, she's just doing this because for attention. That's what they always do. But of course, the left has to come out and mobilize against one of their own, especially whenever this is a grave consequence. And then they just want to go ahead and demonize them for that and then just completely Me Too him. So Graham's own side pretty much betrayed him in this regard, turned their back on him, believed women as usual, especially if they're fat cows, and said that, yes, what he did was very dangerous and what he did was very, very damning. And we cannot have him represent us in Senate for Maine. So my takeaway from this is that, look, women lie, bro, all the time. The woman's story didn't make a lot of sense. I don't believe at all that this was non-consensual. She just trying to take away consent in that moment to try to ruin his life. Even though she said she had 5 years of on again and off again in a relationship of him not being consensual all the time, I guess. That's her own words, not my own from the political article. But at the same time, it just goes to show you that these women would just like say anything just for some clout. And that's exactly what happened. So my initial thought process is Graham is completely innocent and really he's just being targeted by the mob. Yeah. So people can take my opinion or not like it. It is what it is. But anyways, now let's get on to the NATO summit. Trump praises NATO's unity after lashing out at allies. Though President Trump assailed partners for not joining the war in Iran, he said he would grant Ukraine long-sought authority to make the patrol defense system. So here's the latest. Hours after rolling a NATO summit on Wednesday for insulting allies and reasserting his needs to control Greenland, President Trump declared that there was tremendous unity among leaders behind closed doors, a striking turn from his earlier remarks. Speaking to reporters in Ankara, Turkey, President Trump praised the alliance secretary general and said there was tremendous love among leaders. 2 years ago, NATO laughed at us. Everybody laughed at us. He said, they don't laugh anymore. There's no more fight and there's no more laughing. Early in the day, Mr. Trump had scolded France, Germany, Italy, and Britain for not joining the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Compared the war in Ukraine to children fighting and called Spaniards hopeless, threatened to cut off trade with them. He also cast doubt on the temporary ceasefire with Iran aimed at ending the war in the Middle East and repeatedly denigrated Iran's leaders as evil, sick people, scum, and cancer. He added, I'm not sure I want to make a deal with them, but also said he was not looking for a long-term conflict. I don't think it's going to start again. I think it's going to go very quickly. He said, suggesting the United States would keep striking Iran if it fired on ships. So this is kind of contradictory because I have an Axios report later on from the stream that's going to contradict what Trump said. So apparently the United States does have plans to get back to extend the conflict. As much as Trump says we're not going to do that, there's contradictory on Trump's part. The summit did produce welcome news for NATO and Ukraine. However, Mr. Trump told President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine that the United States would allow the country to manufacture Patriot air defense systems to protect itself from Russian missiles. This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough, he said. NATO members, including the United States, also recommended to its mutual defense agreement vowed to increase military spending and expand defense production and increase their support for Ukraine. The reaffirmation of mutual defense was notable, given the doubts among some countries that Mr. Trump would send U.S. forces to support them if they came under attack. The allies pledged $80 billion in military aid this year and next, a figure that included a mix of previous and new commitments. The road to the end was rocky. On Wednesday morning, Mr. Trump called Spaniards hopeless, bad people, and said he was cutting off trade with the country, an unlikely prospect given the European Union's 27 nations negotiate trade deals jointly. So I guess we can end it right there. There's really not much else to really talk about. So the one thing I want to talk about is the Ukraine deal right quick and how we are going to once again, basically give aid to Ukraine. I don't like that idea. I do not like the idea of giving aid to Ukraine. I'm firmly against giving aid to Ukraine. I'm firmly financing a losing war to a country that's quite frankly getting slaughtered. And I called it before. I said country. It's funny enough because I call Ukraine a freight country, which they are. But I don't support them monetarily, and I don't support Ukraine politically at all. As a matter of fact, like I said before, and I'll say it again on the show, Russia has more of a claim to Ukraine than Ukraine has a claim to being an actual country. I know people don't like me hearing that. I haven't touched on Russia and Ukraine at all in a minute, but I guess I can go ahead and regurgitate my points a little bit, but before we get into some clips from the summit. But at the same time, I don't support a losing battle, and I don't think Americans need to be putting their taxpayer dollars behind Ukraine, who clearly is losing a fight. They're going as so far as to drag people outside their houses because they're running low on soldiers. And don't get me wrong, Russia's also taking massive amounts of casualties too. They also are suffering too. A lot of Russians, like millions of Russian soldiers, have already been put 6 feet under. So this war has gotten very violent. This war has gotten very, out of control. And look, I get it. It should come to an end by tomorrow, but it's obviously not. The conflict in Ukraine is not going to come to end. It's not going to come to an end anytime soon. And multiple reasons why. It's multiple domestic reasons and multiple geopolitical reasons. And really it's because Russia is waging war on Europe. So that's the main reason why this conflict is just not going to, just end anytime soon. So with that being said, like I said, we're going to get into the clips right now, but I just don't support this idea of us rearming Ukraine again just to keep getting slaughtered some more. Zelensky just needs to throw in the white towel and just give it up already. You've lost the fight. I don't know why you keep fighting, bro. I get it. You want to protect the country, the sovereignty of Ukraine, but at the same time, your people are dying, starving. They're fleeing in numbers to other countries because they can't live there because there's a war going on their doorstep. So your best bet is just throwing the towel right now. But I digress because Zelensky wants to constantly continue the fighting and hope that Ukraine can come out. Damn, I'm losing my words. He can hope that Ukraine can come out at the end of this, a victor at least, and also retain their territories that they lost in this conflict. And Russia is hoping to not give up no territories, hoping to demilitarize Ukraine, and hope Ukraine would never join NATO, and possibly some point have them come back into the fold, basically come back into Russia. So Putin has maximalist ideas and Ukraine has maximalist ideas. The only question is whose ideas will come at the forefront and actually come out on top. That's the real question that we should be asking. Not us funding them again for another losing conflict. Just in, President Trump says he probably would not have attended the NATO summit if it wasn't in Turkey, and is considering pulling more troops out of Europe. So let's go ahead and listen to what Trump has to say.
We're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But
that's falsely not true. He's called for their help multiple times to help insist with opening the Strait of Hormuz, to help with striking Iran. He's called multiple times for all the NATO countries to get involved militarily, but they refused to do so and chose just to protect their own. Which pissed off Trump, and to the point where he lashed out on them, called them the most useless thing ever, and threats to pull out all the time from NATO. And I think it's a good idea. Congress has said that he can't do that without congressional approval, but I just think the president just needs to override Congress and just pull out of NATO completely because we're the ones funding the entirety of that whole ordeal.
Before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there, and we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people, countries from, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us, and they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there.
Yeah,
Maybe
Keir Starmer
because of this. It was a
resigned.
very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we helped them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to this. President Trump has cut off all trade with Spain, calling it a terrible partner. Spain is a wasted cause. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain.
I didn't speak to Spain. Spain is a wasted cause. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it out.
Yeah, he really hates Spain.
A terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. Okay, we don't want anything to do. Watch them come running back. Oh, they'll come running back. They treat this man terribly, and this man's a good man too, great man. They're lucky they have him. But Spain doesn't agree to anything, and you shouldn't carry him. I mean, you sort of automatically carry because you're protecting an area, so they're there. So they probably figured they have to protect us, right? But we don't have to. We don't have to trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right? Take it immediately. Don't even talk to them. They're hopeless. Bad people, because, you know, they have everybody else going and paying and working in Spain. In particular, Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular, Spain. They're open about it. They're hostile about it. And let's see how hostile they remain when they call up and they, please, we want to trade with you, sir. We want to trade with you, sir.
Man, Trump's going in on Spain right now. He was very vocal about how much he really dislikes Spain not being supportive of the war with Iran and not participating. And now he's really letting his feelings out at the summit, how much he really has dismay for Spain right now because of that whole ordeal, and calls their prime minister a useless fucking idiot. But again, like I digress, I mean, I think we should be put on the NATO completely. That's how I view it. While you were sleeping, Trump had a complete meltdown in the NATO summit in Turkey, ranting and raving that Spain is a wasted cause, led by bad people, claiming Greenland is a problem for us, and the U.S. should have kept it after World War II, and adding that Iran is led by scum and the ceasefire is over. All right.
We attacked very.
This is the full rant right here.
The very dangerous people from Iran. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. We said, go and do your funeral stuff. And instead of that, they start shooting rockets at ships yesterday. And so we hit them very hard last night. Very hard. I would say 20-1, 20 times tougher. I told them every time you hit, we hit. And of course, they're dirty players, so they go after everyone, probably including me. I've been number one on their list for years. And they're a bunch of scum. You want to know the truth? They're scum. And so we don't like them. I don't like them. And they're evil people, and it's the denuclearization of Iran. And we're going to denuke it. We're not going to let them because they're crazy, and they can't have a nuclear weapons in people. They had the roadside bomb, Soleimani. I took care of him first term. And it was a big thing, because I think they probably would be a lot stronger had he been around, because he was a bad guy, but he was an evil genius. But a bad guy. He was the father of the roadside bomb. The roadside bomb is a bomb that goes on when you're driving your little vehicle around, and it goes on and you have no legs, no arms, and no face.
I'm playing the video at 1.5 speed, so that should be good.
Mark, he's been a great Secretary General of NATO. I'm not happy with NATO because of what they did with Greenland, and I'm not happy with NATO because of the fact that they didn't want to help us with the number one state sponsor of terror. That's Iran. They were unwilling to help us. Now, in all fairness, I didn't speak to Mark about it. I think if I did, it might have been different, but we didn't need help. But I was really testing. I wanted to see whether or not they'd be there. The answer is they were. I spoke to Germany. I spoke to France. I spoke to UK. Spoke to Italy. I didn't speak to Spain. Spain is a wasted cause. I didn't speak to Spain. Spain is a wasted cause. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it out. Again, Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay.
I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. Okay, we don't want anything to do. Watch them come running back. Oh, they'll come running back. They treat this man terribly, and this man's a good man too, great man. They're lucky to have him. But Spain doesn't agree to anything, and you shouldn't carry him. I mean, you sort of automatically carry because you're protecting an area, so they're there. So they probably figure they have to protect us, right? But we don't have to. We don't have to trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right? Take it immediately. Don't even talk to them. They're hopeless. Bad people because, you know, they have everybody else going and paying and working in Spain. In particular, Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular, Spain. They're open about it. They're hostile about it. And let's see how hostile they remain when they call up and they, please, we want to trade with you, sir. We want to trade with you, sir. They make so much money with us, and we're going to see that they make a lot less. I want no business with them. It's their biggest asset. You want to know the truth? So, Mark, would you say a few words?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. President, dear Donald. Let me start with, well, we discussed it last night at the Presidential Palace. I think what you did, degrading the nuclear capability, crucial for Israel, the region, for Europe. Degrading the ballistic missile capability of Iran, crucial for Israel, for the region, for you, for the whole world. And then trying to bring this to a peaceful end. They attacking ships yesterday. I think what you did last night was absolutely necessary. It was a very strong response. And I'm with you on this. It's really so. I would argue without you in this chair, this would not have happened.
All right, this is kind of yapping. Don't really go off of here. All right, so let's go over here. So Trump at the NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. It's great honor to be with President Zelensky. He wants to see a settlement, and I think President Putin wants to see a settlement. We just had our NATO meeting, and it was a great meeting. So,
well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with President Zelensky. We've talked a little while, and we speak on occasion by phone. We had a great talk the other day, I think.
As you can see, Trump and Zelensky's always wearing the same shit, bro. Those niggas never not dressed for appropriate for the occasion, man. Like, Trump was right about wearing a suit, bro. Like, this nigga's always wearing a war. I get it because your country's in a state of war, but like, dude, you're at a summit. Everyone there's wearing suits. Come on, man. Learn to dress. Like, even during times of war, you can still dress the part. Like, come on, man. Seriously.
And I think
disrespectful.
We have some very good stories to tell. What's going on? He wants to see a settlement, and I think President Putin wants to see a settlement. And usually that means a settlement, but who knows? This is
the look of a man's face right here who's had to bury so many Ukrainians because of his bad decision making. I mean, you could really blame this entire conflict on Zelensky alone. Him and his leadership have really not done a great job at this. They're not doing a great job, and they've had to bury so many Ukrainians. And because of all this piece of crap, just doesn't want to throw in the towel and just agree to the deals. It wants to make the negotiations as difficult as possible to the point where the fighting continues. And more people just got to keep getting buried.
This is a tough one. But I just, we just had our NATO meeting, and it was a great meeting. You probably heard it was a great meeting. There was a lot of love in that room, a lot of unity. And I don't think it could have been, Marco, what do you think? It couldn't have gone much better. Do you have a feeling as to what you just saw?
Very positive. A lot of unity, strength in that unity.
Yeah, really good. Scott, what do you think?
Yes, sir. All the Europeans attributed you to saving NATO, and they want to do what they're supposed to do and do the right thing.
Yeah, there was something very special. And I will say that what they've done with Turkey and President Erdogan has been a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Strong man, good man, and he's done a fantastic job. Every road, everything's perfect. He's, from the airport to the destination, everything's been perfect. So we had a really good meeting, and we thought this would be a good time for President Zelensky and I to meet, and we'll see what we can do. But we've actually developed a good relationship. It's hard to believe, right? From the Oval Office to now, I think we've developed a very good relationship. And
this is not the end.
No, this is not. This is going to be the beginning, maybe. Yeah. Just the beginning. And the country has a lot of future. It has such great land, such great assets, such great people. And you have a lot of people. I was with a group in Poland, and you have a lot of people in Poland, and which is a terrific country with a really great president. I happen to endorse him, and he's doing a very good job. And they were saying they love Poland, but they really want to go back. You're going to get a lot of people back. when this is over, they left some, and they're all. I think they're going to come back. A big percentage are going to come back. So have a good talk, and we're going to see how it all goes. And
the feed cut out a little bit in that clip. So let's go to another one. Rubio, I think that's one of the dynamics that's changed in this war over the last few months, and that is that the Russians are finding it more difficult to defend their own airspace. And what we hope that means is that's going to create the space now to negotiate the end of the war. It's an escalation, but it's also an escalation that can help lead to an end. That's from Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, no, I think what you're discussing is the ability of Ukraine to reach deep inside of Russia and conduct strikes. I think that's one of the dynamics that's changed in this war over the last few months, and that is that the Russians are finding it more difficult to defend their own airspace. And what we hope that means is that it's going to create the space now to negotiate the end of this war.
It's an escalation, but it's also an escalation that can help lead to an end.
Yeah, no, I think.
Correct. Reporter, what's your security guarantee for Ukraine, President Trump? Not that we want to do it. We'll do it to save lives. Ukraine's very far away. We have an ocean separating us. What I'm doing is I'm trying to save lives. I also think that it's a country with great potential. If this is the kind of brain power can go toward rebuilding the country instead of fighting a war, I think that country is going to do fantastically well.
What's your security guarantee for Ukraine?
The guarantee?
Yeah, security guarantee for Ukraine.
The security guarantee you're talking about? I mean, not that we want to do it. We'll do it to save lives. Look,
holy shit, I'm going to be at 3
Ukraine's
hours.
very far
I'm already
away.
past
We have
3
an
hours.
ocean separating us. What I'm doing is I'm trying to save lives. A lot of lives are being lost. I also think that it's a country with great potential. I think if this kind of brain power can go toward rebuilding the country instead of fighting a war, I think that country is going to do fantastically well.
Okay. All right. So, following their meeting on the sidelines of NATO summit, U.S. President Donald J. Trump told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in front of the press that the U.S. would provide Ukraine with a license to produce Patriot air defense missiles, saying, "We'll give them the right to make Patriots. We'll show them how to do it." This comes as Ukraine has struggled to mitigate the threat of the ever-increasing scale of Russian missile attacks against them due to low stockpiles of Patriot missiles. So that's last one on that one. So key takeaway from this summit is that, the NATO allies, useless as per usual. We're going right back to funding Ukraine, which I don't think no one's asking for. And Trump is not hiding away his disdain for Spain. So that's the key takeaway from the summit. Now we're going to finish off with the Iran war. This one, I didn't get a chance to talk about this, so I missed this story. U.S. officials believed Israel was plotting to kill Iranian negotiators. Any Israeli attempt to kill Abbas Araghchi and the foreign minister, or Mohammed Ghalibaf, the parliament speaker, would have derailed peace talks, American officials feared. U.S. officials believed that Israel might have been plotting to kill Iran's top negotiators while Washington was engaged with Tehran in delicate talks this spring to reach an interim peace deal, according to current and former American officials. Killing senior Iranian leaders has been part of Israel's strategy from the start of the war, but American concerns about the targeting of two particular Iranian officials, Abbas Araghchi, Iran's foreign minister, and Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf, Speaker of the Parliament, spiked during delicate ceasefire negotiations that had begun in April. Fearful that an Israeli assassination effort would doom the negotiations, the United States, according to some of the officials, went so far as to ask other countries in the region to warn Iran about the possibility Israel could target the two officials. Wow. So even during times of conflict, some top U.S. officials decided, go ahead and just gave out word to the Gulf allies that, hey, warn Iran that potentially Israel is going to murder your top negotiators. Damn. even in a time of negotiations, U.S. is showing some semblance of like willing to, you know, to basically show some form of kindness. Even though we haven't really been showing much of that at all during this whole entire ordeal with Iran, we've been very bad faith in the negotiations. Even still, that's a very admirable thing to do. But I'll go ahead and close off right there. But to digress, I mean, it's nothing we have ever seen before from the Israelis. What they're willing to go ahead to kill any and all their enemies, no matter what. No matter if it's during peace negotiations, they'll strike again. We had an agreement with them since the 12th day war of last year, and then what did Israel do? They decided to say they were going to go ahead and attack them again. Instead of controlling the wild dogs, we just said, you know, we're gonna attack them with you. Couldn't mean not surprised at all. Iranian strikes on ships test ceasefire and threaten energy flows in Gulf. A U.S. official said Iranian missiles struck 2 commercial ships. There were no immediate comment from Iranian officials on the reported attacks. This was on July 7th. It was a couple of days ago. New Iranian strikes on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz presented another test of the ceasefire between the United States and Iran and threatened to interrupt a steady resumption of energy supplies in the region. The ceasefire is effectively over. Like ever since these attacks, you know, Iran's attack, United States is attacked, it's effectively the ceasefire is done and over with. Iranian missiles hit 2 ships in the strait, but there were no casualties, a U.S. official said late Monday Eastern Time, according to a notice issued early on Tuesday by the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operation Organization, a monitoring center led by British Royal Navy. The crew of a tanker off the coast of Oman reported a strike by an unidentified projectile which caused a fire on the vessel. The notice did not identify the tanker or its cargo and said that no casualties or environmental effects were reported. The tanker was near the eastern mouth of the strait when it was hit, according to the report. Iran has said it expects ships to pass through the strait along its coast, not on the opposite side near Oman. The traditional route through the middle of the strait is considered dangerous because of the risk of mines led by Iranian military. So yes, this was the first indication. This is the first strike right there. So now let's get on to something currently. With Iran ceasefire over, Trump shifts the battle for Hormuz. So the White House is preparing for what could become a multi-day or even a multi-week exchange of fire with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. This is from Axios right here. So the length and severity of the new campaign hinge entirely on Tehran's next moves, U.S. officials tells Axios. Why it matters. A war that begun with the goal of degrading Iran's missile capabilities and destroying what remained of its nuclear program has evolved into an open-ended fight over the world's most important energy choke point. A U.S. official said the current escalation could last a day or two, a week or a month, depending on whether Iran continues its attacks on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to slap them a bit so they understand we're not fucking around, the U.S. official said. Driving the news, diplomacy has stalled for now, and military pressure is back at the center of President Trump's strategy. Trump said Wednesday the 60-day ceasefire outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, was over after the exchange of fire triggered by Iranian attacks on commercial ships. The U.S. then launched a second round of strikes near the Strait of Hormuz, including attacks on infrastructure targets inside Iran for the first time in months. Iran retaliated with attacks on U.S. bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, while insisting it would not back down from its claim to control the strait. Shortly after, Trump signaled the U.S. was ready to de-escalate, telling reporters on Air Force One that Iranian officials had called a little while ago and want to make a deal. It was unclear what Trump was referring to, and Iranian officials did not immediately confirm any direct outreach. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know what they're going to, I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. I think it's a typo. Okay, Trump added, they're sort of crazy, to be honest. The other side, Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, accused the U.S. of bullying and breaking promises and warned that the strait would only reopen on Tehran's terms. If you strike, you'll get hit. Ghalibaf wrote on X. The Strait of Hormuz will only open with Iranian arrangements, not American threats. The big picture, reopening the Strait of Hormuz and restoring freedom of navigation for commercial ships has become a central goal for the Trump administration, mainly to stabilize global energy markets. For Iran, maintaining control over the strait has become a key objective in any deal to end the war. The issue was central provision in the U.S.-Iran MOU, and conflicting interpretations of the strait clauses are now causing the deal to unravel. The MOU requires Iran to allow safe passage for ships through the Strait of Hormuz, but soon after it was signed, Iranian officials accused the U.S. of violating the deal by routing ships through a southern lane near the Omani coast without Tehran's approval. Between the lines, U.S. officials say the White House believes it has more room to escalate because hundreds of oil tankers have managed to leave the Gulf through the strait in recent weeks. That has eased concerns inside the administration that a renewed clash would immediately trigger a major oil price spike, the officials said. So that's pretty much it. So they've already outlined right now that, okay, so basically now that we've allowed so much ships to go through the strait, now we've kind of stopped the bleeding and slowed it down a little bit. Now we can go back in and start blowing up their shit. That's basically what they're saying. This is basically what these anonymous American officials are telling Axios right now. And Trump saying that Iran already called, some of the top Iranian officials already called to reach out to him for another round of talks. I mean, Iran has not confirmed that at all, nor has the top, U.S. diplomat himself, Ghalibaf and Abbas, or even Abbas Araghchi have even said that they're reaching out to the United States again to continue the talks. It just seems like to me that we're right back to where we started again before we signed the MOU. We're right back to where we started at. Not even no close to a deal. Iran pretty much lost all his concessions, as you can see right here. I'm about to read this right here for you. This is from my notes. New York Times just reported on July 7, 2026, the U.S. revokes an exemption allowing Iran to sell oil after attacks on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Key developments. The U.S. reinstated sanctions on Iranian oil sales after 3 commercial tankers were attacked in or near the Strait of Hormuz. The attacks were attributed by U.S. officials to Iran. Though Tehran had not publicly accepted responsibility at the time, the Treasury Department revoked a temporary license that had allowed Iranian oil sales as part of a recent interim U.S.-Iran agreement. The new rules stopped new Iranian oil sales immediately, with only a short wind down period for existing transactions. The attacks renewed concerns about the security of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy choke points, though, which roughly 1/5 of the globally traded oil normally passes. Oil prices jumped more than 5% as traders reacted to the increased risk of supply disruptions and the possibility of a wider regional conflict. Later on July 7th, the U.S. also launched military strikes against targets in Iran, stating they were a response to attacks on commercial shipping. So as you can see right here, we already revoked we've already put them right back to where they were this entire time, to where now they can't do any oil transactions. They make money now from selling their oil now. And now, of course, now that we've pretty much reaffirmed that we're going right back in for military conflict. Now it seems like Iran really can't even have ships go through the strait and pay a toll, because now they can't even make money from that, because now we've gone right back into the military conflict. So now, not only can they not be able to be compensated through their oil, now they can't even be compensated through the Strait of Hormuz. So it seems like to me we've pretty much the situation has gone from bad to just very, very bad right now. And now we're nowhere near reaching a deal. The strikes in Lebanon have only gotten worse now. Now, close to hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in Lebanon, and it's only just going to keep getting worse and worse because we don't have a control on Israel. Regional mediators push to salvage U.S.-Iran deal. This is also from Axios. So now Qatar, Pakistan, and other regional, allies of the United States have called for, resumption of negotiations between both sides. So other regional mediators are trying to de-escalate tensions between the U.S. and Iran and revive negotiations on a nuclear deal. According to two sources from the mediating countries and a U.S. official, why it matters. While President Trump announced on Wednesday that the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, and the ceasefire were over and ordered 2 rounds of airstrikes, he is focused on reopening the Strait of Hormuz and still wants to avoid a return to an all-out war with Iran. I mean, it's kind of a little bit too late for that. I mean, it seems like we're already back in the war already. The mediators think that regardless of a recent escalation, the parties made progress toward a nuclear deal in early rounds of talks and want to prevent the MOU from collapsing. It's already collapsed. A regional source from one of the mediating countries said the mediators believe the recent Iranian attacks in Hormuz were initiated by elements inside the Iranian regime that oppose the MOU and want to undermine it. Behind the scenes, Qatari, Pakistani, Turkish, Egyptian, and Saudi officials have conducted multiple phone calls on Wednesday with both U.S. and Iranian officials in an effort to calm down the situation, the sources said. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told Pakistani military commander Field Marshal Asim Munir that the U.S. attacks and rhetoric were violations of the MOU, and according to a statement on Telegram channel, there are extensive diplomatic efforts to first agree with both sides on de-escalation and then set a date for another round of negotiations between the tactical teams. One regional source involved in the mediation said, data after 2 days of exchange of fire between the U.S. and Iran, Thursday was much calmer. Okay, so yesterday was just a little bit much calmer. Nothing really happened. But it's just clear right now that everyone sees like we're not making money. We're losing money by this conflict keep going on. And it's bad for business right now if missiles keep dropping down in our countries, and we're trying our best to protect all of our people and all of our interest. But the problem with that is they only have so many interceptor missiles that can stop Iranian munition, especially munition missiles from reaching and also doing damage in their countries. So it's just kind of clear right now is that all the Gulf countries are realizing that we're losing big time dollars right now on this conflict. If we do not get a grip on this conflict, we're just going to keep losing more and more money. Qatar, Pakistan, the UAE, their whole thing is like, especially for the UAE, especially for Saudi Arabia, their whole thing is tourism. Their whole thing now, what they're making money from is tourism too, as well, along with their oil. But for them, it's tourism. If they can't have foreigners that come there to the country to come see the country because the country's being constantly bombed with missiles from Iran, then they're losing out on millions of dollars, probably close to billions. And they don't like that, the fact that's happening. They also don't like the fact that their oil and energy cannot get over the strait, because they're constantly being threatened by Iran that if you do, we will bombard your vessel, which they've proven time and time again that they can do that. So the Gulf allies have clear interests of their own that if they don't come to a deal reached between the U.S. and Iran, that this entire conflict is just going to pretty much cause global recession. So exclusive. Iran hatched fresh plot to kill Trump, or Israel told U.S. So this was reported just the other day. So Israel, this is intelligence from Israel. So you might want to take this with a grain of salt. You might want to take this with a grain of salt to see if this intelligence is correct or not, because at this point we don't know if it is. So 1 second, I'll fix my mic. Fix this right quick. Okay. Oops. Fucking Mike's acting stupid right now. What the hell? Okay. There we go. All right. So that's fixed. Israel shared new intelligence with the U.S. that it said indicated a fresh Iranian plot to kill President Trump. People familiar with the matter said a finding that would mark an escalation in the war between Washington and Iran. Iran for years has vowed openly to retaliate against Trump for the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, who was a top general in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. In the president's first term, the Israeli embassy in Washington declined to comment. Iran's mission to the United Nations didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The White House referred the Wall Street Journal to comments the president made on Wednesday. Trump on Wednesday alluded to threats to his life when speaking to reporters in Ankara, Turkey. They want to take out the U.S. leader, me, he said. I'm on every list. I saw this morning. I'm on every single one of their lists. And so far, I guess I've been a little bit lucky, but that maybe doesn't last very long. Relations between Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have splintered in recent weeks as their interests diverged over continuing the Iran war. Netanyahu has advocated for keeping up attacks on Iran and accomplishing more war aims. Trump has sought a way out of the conflict, citing concerns it could tank the global economy. The U.S. struck a fragile ceasefire with Iran last month. Trump and Netanyahu spoke on Thursday, according to the Israeli Prime Minister's office, which said they had agreed to continue coordination between the countries. Trump also updated Netanyahu on recent U.S. activity in the Gulf, the statement said. Iranian mourners at the funeral for slain Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei chanted for Trump's death, with mourners unveiling a banner that read, "We will kill Trump." Trump and Netanyahu spoke frequently at the start of the war in Iran, with Netanyahu telling the president about various targets in Israeli intelligence in late-night phone calls, the journal previously reported. The two men have continued to speak, but their relationship has shown signs of fraying in a series of tense phone calls. So, not surprised. I mean, obviously, the Iranians want revenge for Trump killing Qasem Soleimani because that was one of their top generals at the time, and that was a major blow to them that Trump killed Qasem Soleimani. So, obviously, they look at that as like, we want revenge from the death of our top general from him, and they've always held that resentment since he killed them back then during Trump's first term. So, I mean, I'm not even shocked by their rhetoric that they want to kill Trump. I'm not even shocked that they even had a banner that said they want to kill Trump. I mean, this is just kind of acknowledged. I mean, he killed Qasem Soleimani. That was one of their top generals. It was a major blow to Iran, and quite frankly, it was disrespectful in a way. And then, obviously, they killed their supreme leader, too. So, yeah, I'm not even surprised that they're hatching plans to probably kill him. I mean, they probably have far more plans, honestly, under their belt that they're not even, that haven't been leaked to the media about them wanting to execute Trump. But let's go ahead and get to some of the some of the reports I got from X. So the U.S. Central Command forces have begun launching a series of powerful strikes against Iran to oppose heavy costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping crude by innocent civilians in international waterway. The U.S. strikes are in response to Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's demonstrated aggression was unwarranted, dangerous, and a clear violation of a ceasefire. President Trump declared the ceasefire is over. So this is Trump right here at the NATO summit declaring that the ceasefire was over with.
Ceasefire over. Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
Talks will resume after we get through the funeral proceedings.
What?
Does this mean that talks with Iran will not resume?
I don't care. They can talk, but I think they're wasting their time. They're a bunch of lying guys. I do my whole life. That's all I do is deals. My whole life that's how I became president. I guess that's a deal too, right? But I made a lot of money. I had a lot of great success, tremendous success. Everything I did, I was successful. And I deal with these guys, and I say, this is from a different school. They're liars. They're cheats. They're sick people. They've hurt their people. They killed 54,000 people as of now that were protesting. You know, when people say, how come they haven't taken over? They can't take over because they're dead. They killed them. Nobody's going to take over. They have no guns, and the other side has machine guns. And they're killing them. The press doesn't report it. But they're bad people. They're bad people. And frankly, I don't want to waste my time with them. Now, I'll let our wonderful negotiators keep talking if they want, but I don't see it. I don't like these people. You know that? I like him. I like the leaders. I think all of these leaders.
Great. And they love.
I think they didn't treat the United States fairly for many years, but that's okay. But they're sane, rational, good people. Most of them. I don't like a couple of them, to be honest with you. But there are a couple I don't like much. But I like Erdogan. I'll tell you. I like.
Had to give me a snack and something to drink real quick. I'm going to get off and eat in a little bit while. All right. So this one I found very interesting. So PXF was supposed to go to Israel. After they did the NATO summit, he was supposed to fly off to Israel. But this one was reported from War on X. Except currently in Ankara with President Trump for the NATO summit has suddenly scrapped his trip to Israel today. He was expected to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Katz amid the ongoing Iran situation, U.S. strikes. So this can not be a good indicator. So that means they're all going back to Washington and all hands on deck, that means. So that means they're probably negotiating where they go from here, militarily wise. So if XF is not going to go through with his meeting with Netanyahu and his defense minister, then it's kind of clear that they are going back to Washington to discuss other means of what else to go from here, since the MOU is effectively dead. So this is Trump right here at the NATO summit about Iran.
They are behaving very badly, as they have for 47 years. And, we hit them hard last night after they launched. They launched a couple of, you don't have to know about this, you got stuff on your mind, but they launched a couple of drones and one rocket, one missile, and at ships, because they were in the Strait, which they have every right to be. And so we hit them very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning, we're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them. It's like, for instance, we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because that's what the war is. It's not a war. It's really the denuclearization of Iran. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about just that. That's because my whole thing is not about regime change. It's not about, although I think it's regime change when you knock out the first group, the second group, and now you're the, I think that's maybe the ultimate regime change. But that's not what it's about. It's about, we don't want them to have nuclear weapons. And it's denuking or denuclearization. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And they'll get out of the room. We'll talk about it like we're here. They'll agree on everything, and then they'll go and have a news conference and say we never even talked about it. They're cuckoo. There's something wrong with these people. And for 47 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East, and they're not the bully anymore. Not the bully anymore. And all we want,
I mean, that's kind of Israel, but I mean, okay. What happened?
Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's what I'm there for.
I love how they say Iran's the bully of the Middle East, but I mean, it's kind of Israel because they have the backing of us. We back them. We give them the weapons. We give them the financial aid. So I find it very hilarious.
They'll never build a nuclear weapon under our deal, but I don't know if we're going to have a deal. We may just do it without a deal, because you know what? It's easier. Because these people, they lie and they cheat, and you have an agreement, and they'll go outside. For instance, they agreed, well, we'll never have a nuclear weapon. They agreed. Then they go outside to have a news conference, or they leak that we never discussed the subject. Now, who would believe we never discussed the subject? Because for me, that's 99.9% of what we're doing. It's denuclearization of Iran, okay? So when you ask, our guys can continue. Steve is great, and Jared, and all the guys. They know him very well. Yeah, actually, they're working on your stuff, too. I wonder which. I picked two beauties. You know what? We settled 8 wars. I got a couple of beauties here. But Steve's great, and Jared's great. They're the right guys. We'll see what happens. But I will say this, Iran, they've misbehaved for 47 years. They've killed our soldiers, they've killed our people, and they've killed a lot of people all over the Middle East and elsewhere. And the roadside bomb was their preferred, the preferred weapon was by Soleimani, the roadside bomb, where it would explode under a truck. We actually built trucks with floors, steel this thick. And then all they did was they made bigger bombs. And we have young guys around, not walking around because they have no legs, but their legs were blown off, their arms were blown off, their face was blown off, and they live because of modern medicine can do anything. But they're living like in hell. Their whole life changed because of Iran. And that was 96% of the people that used that, they were made in Iran. And so we have a score to settle to.
Yep. Yes, we do. All right, so let's go ahead and get ready.
I'm not sure it will with Iran. If we make a deal with Iran, I'm not sure that will stick.
May I ask you, what does your...
Because I found them to be very dishonorable people. Yeah.
Are you going to reimpose the naval blockade?
I don't find that with him. And I mean, I don't want to upset him, but everything I've done with President Putin has been okay. It's been good. He's going to say, oh, but I would expect you to say that, but it's good. I don't think anything's going to be broken. And we're going to do a security guarantee in case it is. But with Iran, 47 years, this should have been done by another president a long time ago, or somebody else, another country. But they got stronger and stronger, and now they're weak.
Are you going to reimpose the naval blockade on Iranian ports?
We knocked out 159 ships in 1 week. That's good even for you, right? 159. Their entire navy is at the bottom of the sea. And now they have little boats, little tiny boats that go around. We knocked about 28 of them out last night with the same weapon we use for the drug people. You know, drugs are down, by the way, drugs by sea are down 97%, meaning nobody wants to get into those boats and take drugs into it. They're down 97%. And we're using the same thing for the mine boats. You know, they like to drop mines in. And we hit a lot of them last night, like 28. We knocked out 28 boats last night, little ones. That's all they have is little ones.
All right, so let's see. So apparently, Hexef said targets on the targets of last night's strikes on Iran. Anything used to harass the shipping of the Strait of Hormuz, anything they thought they had rebuilt or capability they were using was a target last night. And tonight, if we need to, on your order, President Trump, we will hit even more and even deeper.
Last night, as you said, about a small craft that they were trying to harass shipping with. So that was a big part of what we targeted. Underground facilities where they were storing drones or missiles, coastal defense sites, radar sites, surveillance sites, anything used to harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So anything they thought they had rebuilt or capability they were using was a target last night. And tonight, if we need to, on your order, Mr. President, we will hit even more and even deeper, because that's the consequence.
And we may put down the blockade. We may put it back, the blockade. And it'll only be a blockade for Iran. Anybody else can have whatever they want. Now, of course, they'll drop some mines if they can, if they can do it. But it's hard because we're taking out those little boats now with the same weapon we used to take out the drug lords and the boats coming in by sea.
Last night, as you said.
All right, so Trump again on the Iran conflict. Oh, this time he talks about Karg Island. So let's go ahead and listen to what the president has to say.
First of all, we took out additional, they were trying to rebuild their radar, and they had about 60% built. Now they have to start all over again. Look, we're not attacking at the highest level. The highest level of the bridges, which we can knock down. I would say in one day we knocked down every single bridge in Iran. There's not a thing they can do about it. Their electric manufacturing facilities, right? Their electric plants where they make their electricity in there. We will we have to, we'll take them out. I don't want to do that, but if we have to, we'll take them out. They have desalinization plants. We'll take them out if we have to. I hate to do that. That's probably the one I would like not to do. At least we attacked Cargo Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over Cargo Island. We may take over Cargo Island. There's not a thing they can do about it. But I said, don't hit the pipes. Just hit everything else. And they hit it. They may hit it again tonight. So, as for your question, normally I'm not that way, but they really deserve it, because they're saying they want to make a deal, but they don't. They asked for a timeout. They wanted to go to the funeral of Khomeini, and I said, give it to them. And they start shooting missiles. I mean, it's a crazy thing. Now, we did kill him. Yes, I guess you have to look at it that way, but the funeral took place. And they wanted to have a period of time. And they also asked that we not kill them. We said, we're not going to kill you. They were worried we'd kill them during the funeral. I mean, if you can believe it, what a crazy... Did you ever think I'd be doing this for a living? Marco, did anybody ever think I'm doing... Maybe Pete, but this was supposed to be the thing. Pete loved this stuff from day one. But they said to us, please don't kill us during the funeral. I said, I won't. And we didn't do anything. In fact, we made it safe for them, actually. And what happens? They try and knock out two ships, a Saudi and I guess Kuwait, right? Kuwaiti, oh no, Qatari. In addition, really three.
Yes, sir.
So you had 3 of them. And
all right, and this is the last clip right here from the summit of Trump talking about Iran for the last time. This time he's just going at them directly, just saying they're evil people, sick people, they're mentally disturbed people.
But we have minesweepers, and one of the things that came up today is that European nations, the NATO group, they're sending minesweepers. We don't need them now. We have pretty much the mines that cleared up, but they'll probably drop some more. They're evil people. They're sick people. They're mentally disturbed people. And should have been done 47 years ago. But we have minesweepers, and one of the things that came up today is that...
clip. Thing's acting stupid. That's the last clip. I got some other ones right here from CNN and you know what? I think I'll just end it right there, because it's already a long stream already as it is, and I wasn't planning on being on that long. So I guess that's it for the news coverage today. I will be back. I'll try to be back on tomorrow. I'm probably not gonna be on that long, or I might record something tonight is dropping for you guys tomorrow. So that's what I might do. But anyways, have a good rest of your night, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for today's news coverage. It was a little bit longer than it was supposed to be. I did take almost like an hour to come on stream. It's because I was getting ready, but I'll try to be a little bit faster next time. But anyways, have a good rest of the day, y'all. See you in the next one.